drink is gone. The second one, too. And still Smith and I sit in the corner of that low, warm room, trading silence like it's another kind of currency. The amber liquid had burned going down, the way VAR spirits always do. It's designed to strip the lining from your throat and remind you that you're alive, that you've survived another day in a universe that doesn't particularly care whether you do or not. Smith had matched me glass for glass, which surprised me. Humans don't usually handle our distillation well. Their metabolisms are fragile things, built for comfort rather than endurance. But this one had swallowed without flinching, set the glass down and looked at me with those flat mammalian eyes like he was waiting for something more interesting to happen. I was beginning to understand why his species had survived the chaos of their own making. They don't give up easily. They don't know when to stop. The runner arrives like a stone dropped into still water, young, unblooded, still wearing the plain gray of an unranked household servant. He doesn't approach the table so much as he arrives at it, breathless, spine flat in the posture of someone who has run the length of the complex rather than risk being late. His claws click against the stone floor. His chest heaves. He's terrified and not of the run. Fourth son. He won't look at Smith. His eyes stay fixed somewhere over my shoulder, the way you're taught to address royalty when you're afraid of what you might see in their face. A transmission from the homeworld, marked urgent, marked for you alone. My brother's name hangs in the air between us, unspoken but present. I know who sent it. I've known since the moment the runner appeared in the doorway. Kelthar has never been patient. He's never been subtle. And he's never, not once in our shared history, sent me a message that didn't contain a knife. Smith doesn't move, but I feel him go still in the particular way soldiers go still. Not frozen, coiled. Every human instinct in that body has just read the same thing my instincts have. Something is wrong. I can see it in the way his fingers stop tapping against the glass, in the way his breathing slows, deepens, becomes something measured and deliberate. He's preparing for violence, even though he has no idea what form that violence might take. Read it, I say. Fourth son, it's marked. I said read it. The runner's claws tremble around the data slate. He reads, and with every sentence the color drains further from a face that, admittedly, I have no real reference for reading, but I don't need one. I can hear it in his voice, the way it cracks, the way the words come faster and faster like he's trying to get them out before they can hurt him too. Kelthar, first son, heir apparent, my eldest brother, a VAR who has spent 30 years perfecting the art of being unbearable, has petitioned the Throne Council to have my diplomatic authority revoked, effective immediately, on the grounds that the fourth son has exceeded his mandate and entered into unauthorized dealings that endanger the security of the Empire. Translation: I made a friend my brother didn't approve, and he intends to make me pay for it. The room feels smaller than it did a moment ago. The warmth has gone out of the air, replaced by something colder. I can feel the weight of Smith's gaze on me, assessing, calculating. He's reading my face the way I read the runners, looking for the cracks, the tells, the things I'm not saying. I laugh. It isn't a happy sound, and the runner flinches at it, but Smith just watches me with that same unreadable patience he wore at the podium. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't look away. He sits there like he's seen worse, like he's been through worse, like nothing in this room could possibly frighten him. That's the thing about humans. They've survived so much that a little political drama barely registers. Trouble at home? He asks, once the runner has fled back up into the polished halls where he belongs. The gray uniform disappears around the corner, and I hear the sound of running footsteps fading into silence. Good. I wouldn't want him to hear the rest of this. My eldest brother has decided that liking you is treason. I turn my glass in slow circles on the table. The cracks in the base catch the light, fine as spider webs. He isn't wrong that it's dangerous. He's wrong about why. Walk me through it. And that's the thing about this human. He doesn't say I'm sorry, or that sounds difficult, doesn't offer the soft, useless comfort a council delegate would. He asks a question a soldier asks: what's the terrain? What's the threat? What do we do about it? I find I like him more with every passing minute. On VAR, authority isn't given. It's held until someone stronger takes it. I set the glass down harder than I mean to. It cracks again, a deeper fissure this time, running from the base almost to the rim. Kael'thar has spent 3 decades making sure no one is stronger than him. Not through combat, he's too clever for that, but through leverage. Debts, alliances, fear. He doesn't need to beat me in single combat if he can convince the Throne Council I've become a liability. I pause, letting the words settle between us. The fire in the hearth spits and crackles. Outside, the wind howls against the window, trying to get in. An alliance with a species capable of killing 1.5 billion of their own and calling it Tuesday. That is either the greatest asset in the history of the Empire, or the excuse he's been waiting for to have me removed from the succession entirely. And if he wins that argument, then my authority to negotiate with you is stripped. The cultural exchange I offered you an hour ago becomes worth exactly nothing, and I stop myself. Some things Avar doesn't say out loud, not even to a friend of one evening. The truth sits heavy in my chest, pressing against my ribs. If Kael'thar succeeds, I'm not just losing a diplomatic post. I'm losing my place in the succession entirely. I'm losing my home. I'm losing everything I've spent my entire life building. It complicates things. Smith leans back, considers. There's a stillness to how he thinks that I'm coming to recognize as distinctly him, not slow, just economical. He doesn't waste motion, on his face or anywhere else. His eyes don't dart around the room, looking for an escape. He sits in the moment, turns it over in his mind, examines it from every angle. It's the patience of a predator, I realize. The patience of something that knows exactly what it is and what it's capable of. Where I come from, he says finally. When someone tries to take something from you through politics instead of a fight, it's usually because they know they'd lose the fight. Something in my chest uncoils. A tension I didn't realize I was carrying starts to loosen. Just a fraction. Go on. Your brother's playing the long game because the short one doesn't favor him. That tells me 2 things. 1, he's not actually sure he can beat you. He counts it off on his fingers, casual as anything, like we're planning a hunt instead of a coup. 2, he needs the council to act before anyone finds out whether he's right about that. The fire pops again. A log shifts in the grate, sending sparks up toward the chimney. I watch them dance, thinking about what he's just said. It's not wrong. It's not even particularly complicated. But it's the first time anyone has looked at this situation and seen opportunity instead of crisis. You've done this before, not with claws involved. He gestures vaguely at my hands, the talons that extend just slightly past my fingertips. But politics is politics, whether it's got teeth or not. He picks his glass back up, drains what's left. The amber liquid disappears down his throat and he sets the glass down empty. So, what happens if you go home? Then I answer the charges before the Throne Council in person, which is what he wants. It puts me on Var, in his territory, surrounded by his allies, arguing a case in a language built entirely around strength and lineage. The 2 things he spent his whole life stockpiling, and I haven't. I think about the council chamber, the high vaulted ceiling, the rows of seats rising up like a wave, filled with faces that have already been bought. The weight of their expectations, their judgments, their silent calculations. I've been in that room before. I've watched them tear apart lesser men. I've watched them smile while they did it. And if you don't go home, then I forfeit by default, which is worse. I lean forward, resting my forearms on the table. The wood is scarred with generations of use, of deals made and broken. If I don't appear, the council assumes I have no defense. They assume I'm guilty. They strip me of my title, my lands, everything I've worked for. And Kael'thar has exactly what he wanted, without having to lift a single finger. Smith is quiet for a moment. The wind outside picks up again, rattling the window in its frame. I can smell rain on the air, that particular scent of wet stone and ozone that always precedes a storm. Then he says the thing that will, though I don't know it yet, change everything that follows. Then don't go home alone.
I understand what he's suggesting before he finishes the sentence, and the sheer audacity of it sends something electric down my spine. The good kind, The kind I haven't felt since before this whole tedious diplomatic posting began. It's the feeling of standing on a precipice, looking down at something that might kill you or might save you, and not being able to tell the difference until you jump. My hearts are pounding. Both of them. I can feel the blood rushing through my veins, carrying heat to my extremities, sharpening my senses until every detail of the room becomes crystal clear. The fire in the hearth, the way it casts shadows across Smith's face, making him look older and stranger than he did an hour ago. The rain beginning to fall against the window, fat drops that run down the glass like tears. The scent of smoke and spilled alcohol and something else, something I can't quite name, something that smells like possibility. You want to stand before the throne council, as a human. On Var. I say it slowly, letting each word find its place in the air between us. I want to make sure I've heard him correctly. I want to make sure he understands what he's offering. I want to show your brother exactly what he's trying to legislate away. Smith's voice doesn't rise, doesn't perform, but there's an edge under it now, sharp as anything I've heard from my own kind. It's the edge of someone who has been underestimated before and is still standing anyway. He's betting the council will see an alliance with humanity as a liability. I'm betting that once they actually see us, they'll understand it's the opposite. He says it like it's simple. Like walking into the heart of Var power with nothing but your own two hands and a species that has never set foot on our world is just another Tuesday. And maybe for him it is. Maybe that's the terrifying thing about humans. They don't know when to be afraid. You would be one soft-skinned, clawless creature standing in a hall built by a species that eradicated every predator on its own world, rather than share the food chain. I lean forward, my voice dropping lower, more intense. Do you understand what that hall does to outsiders who show weakness? I've seen it happen. I've watched delegates from worlds that should have known better walk into that chamber and walk out broken. The weight of Var history presses down on you there. The knowledge that you're standing in a place where strength is the only currency that matters, where a single misstep can cost you everything you've ever built. I've stood in worse rooms. He says it the way he said everything else tonight, not as a boast, just a fact, laid down flat on the table between us. Worse odds, too. I told you. We don't measure victory by what we took. We measure it by who's still standing when it's over. I look at him for a long moment. The lower-level lights catch the gray already threading through his dark hair. The old scar along his jaw I hadn't noticed until now. The calm, terrible patience of something that has learned to wait out storms far worse than one angry Var prince. He's not young. I can see that now. He's survived things. Things that have left marks on him, inside and out. Things he doesn't talk about. You would be doing this for a species you met 4 hours ago, I say. For an alliance that doesn't officially exist yet. For me, a Var you've known less time than it takes most humans to finish a meal. I'm testing him. I want to see if he'll waver, if he'll show me the crack in his armor that has to be there. No one is this steady. No one is this certain. Everyone has a breaking point. I'd be doing it, Smith says, because I watched you stand up in that chamber grinning like a man who just found the first honest species in the galaxy. That's not nothing where I come from. I don't have a response to that. Var don't, as a rule, know what to do with sincerity that isn't wrapped in a challenge. We're not built for it. Our world shaped us differently, made us suspicious of kindness, taught us that every gift comes with a price and every smile hides a blade. But there's no blade in his voice. There's nothing hidden in his eyes. He's just standing there offering me his back and trusting me not to put a knife in it. And I realize, with a shock that runs all the way down to my bones, that I would not. So I do the only thing that makes sense to a creature raised on a world that tried to kill it every day. I stand, and I offer him my hand again, not the diplomat's greeting this time. The other kind. The kind Var use before they walk into something together that might not let either of them walk back out. It's a different grip, tighter. The fingers locked in a way that says I will not let go until this is done. Then let's go give my brother something to actually be afraid of. The words come out stronger than I expected. Firmer. There's something in them that sounds almost like hope, and I'm not sure what to do with that either. But it's there, burning in my chest, refusing to be extinguished. Smith takes my hand. His grip is firm, calloused, the hand of someone who has worked for what he has. I feel the warmth of his skin against mine, the impossible softness of it, the fragility, and yet I know, with a certainty I can't explain, that this is the strongest hand I've ever held. We're going to need a plan, he says, and we're going to need to move fast. Your brother's not going to wait for us to get our act together. He never has. I release his hand and turn toward the window. The rain is coming down harder now, pounding against the glass like something that wants to get in. The council will convene in 3 days. That's standard procedure for an emergency petition. We have that long to get to VAR, assemble a defense, and figure out how to make a human look like the best thing that's ever happened to the Empire. And if we can't, I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. Then I lose everything. My title, my lands, my place in the succession. And the alliance dies before it even begins. Not an option then. He says it without hesitation, like it's the most obvious thing in the world. Like failure isn't something he even considers. I turn back to face him. The fire catches his eyes, making them gleam with something that looks almost like amusement. He's enjoying this, I realize. He's actually enjoying this. I need to make some calls, I say. I have contacts on VAR. People who owe me favors. People who might be willing to stand against Kael'thar if the price is right. Do it. I'll make myself useful. He gestures around the room. I assume you have someplace I can sleep? I'm going to need to be sharp for whatever comes next. There's a room upstairs, second door on the left. It's not much, but it's warm, and it's dry. That's more than I've had most places. He starts toward the stairs, then pauses at the bottom step, looking back at me. Hey, for what it's worth, I don't think your brother knows what he's getting into. He disappears up the stairs before I can respond. I stand there in the firelight, listening to his footsteps cross the floor above me, the creak of a door opening and closing, and I realize that I believe him. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about this human that makes me trust him with things I wouldn't trust my own blood with. But I do. It's foolish. It's reckless. It's probably going to get me killed. And for the first time in a very long time, I don't care. I pull out my communicator and start making calls. The first one goes to an old ally on VAR, a woman who owes me her life and has never forgotten it. She answers on the first chime, her voice crackling through the speakers. Fourth son, this is unexpected. I need your help. Kael'thar is moving against me. He's petitioned the council to have my authority revoked. There's a pause on her end. I can hear her thinking, weighing the implications, calculating the risk. And then she says the words I was hoping to hear. Tell me what you need. I smile, and it's not a kind smile. It's the smile of someone who has just realized that the game isn't over yet. Everything, I say. I need everything you've got.
The transport to VAR takes 6 days at full speed, and Smith spends most of it doing something I did not expect. Preparing. Not sightseeing, not resting, not asking me 100 idle questions about my homeworld's customs the way a diplomat would. He requisitions everything the ship's archive has on VAR law, VAR succession custom, the exact phrasing of the Throne Council's procedural code, and he reads it the way a soldier reads a map of a battlefield he's about to walk onto blind. I find him on the second day hunched over a data terminal that's clearly not designed for human hands, his fingers moving across the interface with a clumsy precision that speaks of adaptation rather than familiarity. The ship's lighting casts harsh shadows across his face, making him look older than he did in that warm room where this all began. His eyes are red-rimmed. He hasn't slept. I can tell by the set of his jaw, the way his shoulders carry a tension that wasn't there before. You don't have to memorize the entire VAR legal code, I tell him, leaning against the doorframe. The council won't care if you can quote precedent. They care about what you are, not what you know. You said the hall runs on strength and lineage. He doesn't look up. His eyes stay fixed on the text scrolling across the screen, absorbing information with a hunger that makes me uneasy. I don't have either, so I'm bringing the only weapon I've got, which is knowing the rules better than the man trying to use them against you. I leave him to it. There's nothing else I can do. I've tried to help, offered to explain the nuances of VAR culture, the unspoken rules that govern every interaction in that chamber. But he waved me off with a gesture that was almost dismissive, not in a rude way, just in the way of someone who already knows what he needs and doesn't want to be distracted from getting it. Somewhere in the back of my mind, a thought is forming that I don't much like. The thought that whatever Kelthar is expecting when we land, it will not be this. My brother has spent 3 decades preparing for every possible scenario. He's accounted for allies, for enemies, for betrayals and counter-betrayals. But I don't think he's accounted for a human who treats a legal code like a weapon. On the 3rd day, I bring Smith food. He eats it without looking away from the screen. On the 4th day, I find him practicing his pronunciation of VAR formal address, the syllables awkward on his human tongue but getting closer with each repetition. On the 5th day, he asks me a question that catches me completely off guard. How does your father decide? The question hangs in the air between us. I don't answer immediately. I'm not sure how to. What do you mean? The succession. You said it's based on strength and lineage. But that's vague. What actually determines who inherits? He finally looks up from the terminal, and there's something in his eyes that I haven't seen before. Something sharp, calculating. Is it combat? Is it a vote? Is it your father's personal preference disguised as tradition? I don't tell him the truth. I don't tell him that my father has never decided anything in his life, that the throne has been a bargaining chip for so long that the real power has moved elsewhere, into the hands of people like Kelthar, who understand that the throne is just a symbol. The council decides, I say instead, based on the evidence presented, based on who makes the better case for their fitness to rule. Smith nods slowly, thoughtfully. And your brother has been making that case for 30 years. He has. While you've been off building alliances with species that the council has never even heard of. His eyes narrow. That's not a weakness, that's a strength. And your brother knows it. He goes back to his reading. I stand in the doorway for a long moment, watching him, trying to understand what's happening inside his head. And I realize with a start that I try very hard to hide, that I've been underestimating him. This is not a man who walks into danger without a plan. This is a man who builds the plan so carefully that danger never sees it coming. VAR, when the transport finally breaks atmosphere, does what it always does to visitors. It tries to kill them a little, just to see if they mean it. The gravity hits Smith the way it hits every off-worlder, heavier, meaner, a physical insistence that this is not a place built for comfort. I watch him take the first breath of native VAR air, thin with the mineral tang of the southern ash fields, and watch him not stagger, not gasp, just breathe it in like a man tasting something bitter and deciding he can live with the bitterness. The sky is the color of old bruises, streaked with clouds that promise rain that never quite comes. The ground beneath our feet is volcanic, black and pitted, every step a reminder that this world was born in fire and has never forgotten it. In the distance, the spires of the capital rise like teeth against the horizon, ancient and brutal and utterly indifferent to the lives that have been spent to build them. Your world is not welcoming, Smith observes. It never was. It has no reason to be. I look out at the landscape, at the harsh lines and unforgiving edges of it, and feel something I haven't felt in years. Nostalgia, familiarity, the strange comfort of a place that has tried to kill you and failed. My ancestors didn't build cities. They carved them out of the stone that was already here. They didn't farm. They hunted. They didn't make peace. They survived. Good people to have in a fight. Better people to have in a fight, I agree. Worse people to have in a negotiation. The Throne Council chamber is nothing like the sterile marble hall of the Grand Council where we met. It is carved from black basalt, veined with the fossilized bones of creatures our ancestors killed to survive long enough to build it. The ceiling arcs upward into shadow, swallowing the light from the torches that line the walls. There are no soft chairs here, no ambient lighting engineered to make delegates comfortable. There is stone and old blood worked into the grain of it, and the weight of 100,000 years of a species that has never once been permitted to feel safe. I pause at the entrance, letting the weight of the place settle over me. I've been here before, many times, but I've never walked in with a human at my side. I've never walked in knowing that everything I've built hangs on the next few hours. Beside me, Smith is still, not frozen, still in the way predators are still, taking in every detail of the space, every potential threat, every possible angle of approach. His eyes move across the chamber with a measured, deliberate attention that I'm coming to recognize as his default state. "They're not going to like me," he says quietly. "They're not supposed to like you. They're supposed to be afraid of you." I look at him, at the soft skin and fragile bones and complete absence of claws. "And right now, you don't look very frightening." He smiles. It's not a nice smile. It's the smile of someone who knows exactly what he is and exactly what he's capable of. "Give me 5 minutes." Kelthar is already seated at the high dais when we enter. My other two brothers flank him, Drothus, quiet and calculating, the kind of Var who watches and waits and never shows his hand. Vesk, all muscle and impatience, the kind of Var who solves problems by removing whoever caused them. My father sits above all three, silent, watching, the way he always watches, giving nothing away. The council itself fills the rest of the chamber, dozens of them, seated in tiers that rise like a wave, their faces unreadable masks of political calculation. I know most of them. I've spent years building relationships with a few. But I also know that relationships are fluid on Var, that loyalty is a commodity that can be bought and sold, that the friends I thought I had could become enemies with a single well-placed word from my brother. Kelthar's eyes go to me first, then to Smith, and something in his expression, a flicker, gone almost before I catch it, tells me Smith was right. He wasn't expecting this. He was expecting me to come home diminished, alone, already defeated before the argument even began. But I'm not alone, and that changes everything. "Fourth son," Kelthar says, his voice echoing through the chamber. "We are pleased that you have chosen to answer the charges in person." His voice says we are pleased. His eyes say something else entirely. "I have brought a witness," I say, stepping forward. "A representative of the species I have been negotiating with. He has requested the opportunity to address the council directly." The chamber erupts into murmurs. I hear the word human repeated, passed from mouth to mouth like a curse. I hear disbelief, confusion, a few scattered notes of curiosity, but mostly what I hear is fear. My brother's eyes flick to Smith again, assessing, calculating. I watch him try to find the weakness, the angle, the thing he can use to destroy this unexpected obstacle. And I watch him fail. "By what right," Kelthar says slowly, "does a representative of an unknown species address the Throne Council of Var?" He's trying to trap me, trying to force me into a procedural error that will invalidate Smith's testimony before it even begins. But I've been preparing for this too. "By the right granted to all witnesses who have been personally invited by a member of the royal succession," I say, quoting the exact phrasing of the procedural code. Section 7, Article 14. "The witness has been invited. The witness has accepted. The witness has the right to address the council before any decision is made regarding the charges." Kelthar's face doesn't change, but I see the muscle in his jaw tighten. He didn't expect me to know that. He didn't expect me to have prepared, and he really didn't expect Smith to step forward and do what he does next.
"Fourth son." Kelthar's voice fills the chamber without effort, the practiced boom of someone who has spent his whole life being listened to. It rolls off the black stone walls and comes back amplified, carrying every syllable to the farthest corners of the hall. He doesn't need to raise his voice. He's never needed to. The chamber is built for voices like his, voices that have been trained from birth to command attention, to demand obedience, to make lesser creatures feel small. You bring your pet to a council of blood and lineage. How quaint. The words land like a slap across my face. The chamber ripples with the low, ugly sound of VAR laughter, a sound I've heard directed at others 100 times, but never at me. Not like this. Not in front of witnesses. Not in front of the Father who has never once shown me any sign of approval or disapproval. Only that terrible, patient silence. I feel the old anger rise in me, fast and hot, exactly the response Kael'thar is fishing for. Because an angry VAR makes mistakes, and a VAR making mistakes in this chamber loses. I can feel my claws extending, feel the muscles in my jaw tightening, feel the words forming on my tongue that will only make things worse. Smith speaks before I can. I'm not his pet. The voice is quiet compared to Kael'thar's. It doesn't carry the way my brother's does. He doesn't have the lungs, the chest cavity built for it. But the chamber goes quiet anyway, because nothing in that hall has ever heard a human voice before, and the sheer unfamiliarity of it demands attention. It cuts through the laughter like a blade, and I watch the faces in the tears shift from amusement to confusion to something that might be wariness. I'm the reason your empire is about to become a great deal more dangerous or a great deal less relevant. Your brother invited me here to let you decide which. Vesk barks something between a laugh and a growl. It speaks. I step forward, letting my own voice fill the space Smith's smaller one leaves behind. The words feel heavy, like stones I'm rolling uphill, but I push them out anyway. Brother, you petitioned the Council on the grounds that my dealings with humanity endanger the security of the Empire. I've brought the endangerment in question so the Council can judge for itself, instead of taking your word for it. Kael'thar's jaw tightens. Barely, but I've spent my whole life reading that jaw for weakness, and I see it now. A soft-skinned diplomat proves nothing standing in a hall he can barely breathe in. Then test him. The words are out of my mouth before I've fully decided to say them, and I feel Smith go very still beside me. Not with fear, I realize a heartbeat later. With understanding. He knew this was coming before I said it. VAR law permits any claim of unfitness to be settled by trial. Let the Council set the terms. Let them see what this species is, instead of hearing what you'd prefer them to believe. The chamber erupts. Not laughter this time, something sharper, something that smells like blood already spilled in 100 imaginations at once. I watch the faces in the tears shift again, the wariness replaced by hunger. This is what they came for. This is what they always come for. Not debate, not diplomacy, but the old way. The way that doesn't leave anything to interpretation. My father raises a single claw and the noise dies as fast as it rose. The gesture is small, almost casual, but every VAR in that room stops moving at the same instant. I've never seen anyone defy him. I've never seen anyone even consider it. A trial. His voice, when he finally speaks, is quiet in the way that makes every VAR in that room lean forward to hear it. Interesting, fourth son. And what trial do you propose, given your champion has neither claw nor scale nor the mass to survive a moment of honest combat against anything born on this world? I look at Smith. He looks back at me, and there's something in his face I haven't seen since the lobby of the Grand Council. That same flicker of dark amusement. The look of a man who has just been handed exactly the fight he wanted. It's the look I saw when he described his species' capacity for endurance, when he talked about running down prey that could kill him with a single blow. The look of someone who has already won, even though the contest hasn't started. Not combat, Smith says before I can answer for him. Endurance. The word lands in that ancient hall like a stone dropped into still water. I feel the shift in the air. The weight of dozens of minds processing the suggestion, trying to understand what it means and where it leads. Endurance is not a word that VAR use often. We value strength, speed, aggression, the ability to take what you want and hold it against anyone who tries to take it back. But endurance? That's different. That's something else entirely. The long walk, I say, understanding a half-second behind him. The way I'm coming to understand is simply how conversations with this human go. It's the oldest trial on VAR, older than the throne itself, older than the unification wars. 3 days across the ash reaches, no transport, no shelter but what you carry, gravity and heat and predators that have never once cared what species you claim to be. It is not a test of strength. It is not a test of combat skill. It is a test of the one thing my ancestors valued above all others. Whether you stop, the ash reaches are not a place, they are an absence. Miles of volcanic glass and razor-sharp obsidian, baked by a sun that never seems to set, and stalked by creatures that hunt by vibration and scent. There is no water. There is no shade. There is nothing but the ground beneath your feet and the horizon ahead of you and the constant grinding weight of a world that does not want you on it. Kael'thar's confidence falters for the first time since I entered the chamber. I see it in the way his eyes shift, the way his claws tap against the armrest of his seat. He was ready for a champion with claws. He was ready for a champion he could dismiss, could mock, could defeat with a single well-placed blow. He wasn't ready for a champion who'd already survived 3 days in far worse conditions on a world with a name he can't even pronounce, chasing prey that outmassed him 100-fold. For the simple crime of refusing to give up before the sun set on the 4th day. The humans call it persistence hunting. A thin, soft, clawless creature chasing something faster and stronger and more dangerous until it simply runs out of will. That's the terrifying thing about them. They don't stop. Not when it hurts. Not when it seems impossible, not when everything they know tells them they should give up. Accepted, my father says before Kael'thar can object. And there is something in the old Var's voice that might, if I didn't know better, be satisfaction. 3 days. The ash reaches. If the human stands at the end of it, the 4th son's authority stands with him unquestioned for the remainder of his life. If he falls and the pause stretches deliberate, cruel, then the matter is settled the old way, and the 4th son answers for his misjudgment. Smith doesn't flinch, doesn't ask what answers for it means, though I can see in his eyes that he's already guessed, and guessed correctly. The old way means blood, means forfeiting everything I've ever built, everything I've ever been, means becoming a cautionary tale that mothers tell their children, the prince who trusted an outsider and paid the price. Fair enough, he says, and that is how. 6 days after standing at a podium describing his species' capacity for endurance to a room full of skeptical delegates, Delegate John Smith of Humanity United finds himself standing at the edge of the ash reaches at dawn, no armor, no weapon but the boots on his feet, staring out across 3 days of the most hostile terrain in the known galaxy, and grinning like it's the best offer he's had all week. The ash reaches stretch out ahead of us, endless and merciless, and exactly the kind of world that built both our species. I watch him take a deep breath, feel the weight of the moment pressing down on both of us. The trial marshals are preparing the starting line, their faces impassive, their eyes hungry. They've seen this before, or something like it. They've seen champions step into that wasteland and never come back. They're already calculating the odds. You didn't have to do this, I tell him one last time. The words feel small and inadequate, but I don't have any others. I don't have the vocabulary for what I'm feeling right now. Neither did you. He rolls his shoulders, settles into a stance I recognize now, the low, coiled readiness of a predator about to run, not from something but toward it. But here we both are. The horn sounds. The sound is deep and ancient, the call of a world that has been testing its children for longer than anyone can remember. It echoes across the black stone, across the ash fields, across the endless miles of nothing that stretch out ahead of us. Smith takes the first step, and I watch him walk toward a place that has killed better creatures than him, a place that doesn't know how to forgive, a place that will try to break him before he reaches the end. I watch him go, and I realize that I'm not watching a man walk to his death. I'm watching a man walk to his victory. The long walk has begun, and when it ends, everything changes.